Now, young people are increasingly finding their own way of dealing with politicians. They ignore them. Voting among teens and early 20s is falling rapidly. So, if elected politicians can't enthuse the young, who can? Well, students from Hull have been to all the party political conferences, setting up meetings with leading politicians. And in the audience at all of them was our own Len Tingle. He's a busy lad. So, how do they get on?
This century, 1 billion people are going to be murdered by the tobacco industry.
It's a crowded marketplace for would-be politicians. This is Brighton and the Liberal Democrats Party conference. Among the dozens of leafleters trying to persuade delegates to attend a lunchtime fringe meeting are a group of students who've travelled 300 miles from the University of Hull. But the event they've set up for young people to meet former leader Charles Kennedy is hitting problems.
Unfortunately, Charles Kennedy had to pull out, so then we had to liaise again on Friday and try and find two speakers, and luckily Lembit Opik and Nick Clegg have both stepped into the breach, which has been great.
I thought, I want to make a difference to the world.
The idea of the Hull-based group Catch21 is simple. Make politics accessible to young people and they'll start taking an interest. And meeting and questioning real politicians face-to-face is seen as one way to do that. But it's a tough nut to crack. Despite the efforts of the Hull students, the audience in Brighton is sparse.
Politicians get such a bad press, but actually most politicians I meet, of whatever party, most of the time the motives are quite sincere.
We want them to feel like politics is approachable, like they can get involved, like their opinions matter. And I think if we interview MPs like we did today, it just shows them how much more approachable they are.
On to Manchester, and the young organisers of Catch21 have persuaded another big hitter to take part, Labour Cabinet Minister Tessa Jowell.
The poorest people in our country have seen a substantial increase. I think over the last 10 years, 25% increase.
And the Minister has her own ideas of how to break down the barriers with young people.
Thank you very much.
And then there was Boris. The Catch21 roadshow moved on to Bournemouth, and the Conservative spokesman for higher education Boris Johnson's formula for connecting with the young: tell it how it is, such as how he got involved in politics when, as a student himself in 1984, he was asked to contribute to the then striking miners' fighting fund.
I thought it was complete nonsense. It wasn't democratic, this strike. They didn't have a proper ballot. It was outrageous. The whole thing was nonsense. And Arthur Scargill was a Trotskyist maniac, and I thought I wasn't going to give money for Arthur Scargill. That's what it was. Okay. And that's how I became vaguely interested in politics.
But as the meeting revealed to the young audience, even the most candid of politicians has eventually to worry about image.
It's the end of the show, so can everyone please...
I'm very worried about how much of this is going to be on the telly, though.
We'll moderate it, I'll assure you.
Who's in charge of editing this?
The answer is us, Boris. Now, with me now is the coordinator of those meetings, Alex Sargent. Thanks for joining us, Alex. Well done on tackling one of the most difficult jobs, I think, in the country. It looked a bit of an uphill battle, was it?
It was in many ways. It was actually very good fun as well at the same time. We really enjoyed putting on those shows, and lots of people attended them, so we're very grateful for that.
If money were no object, what would you do to engage the youth?
Ooh, there'd be so many things. I'd start probably with our interactive element that we're going into society at the moment with podcasts and web streaming and blogs, and really just opening up the kind of the access that every young person has to access politics and information, really.
People seem to think this is the way forward, and David Cameron obviously launched his own podcast. What did you think of that podcast?
I thought it was very humanised in many ways, which is a good thing, because it showed people that yes, he's quite human, all the rest of it, he does those things, but it's good to see politicians doing those types of things sometimes, because you realise you think that sometimes they have lots of like secretaries doing it for them, but no, they're just gentle approach really of doing it, but also very see-through, and it's very direct to the people who want to watch.
What got you switched on to politics? Because you're the young person that everyone wants to capture the interest of, so what was it that got you in?
It was a mixture of things really, but I think when I first got into politics, I was watching William Hague and Tony Blair against the Dispatch box all those years ago. It was just a spark that made me think, how do they sort of get away with saying this sort of stuff, and what sort of what are they in charge of, quite frankly, and we should really have a say in it.
Do you think it's possible to make people care?
Well, what we do is we provide a platform, and we want people to care. We want people to come along. We want them to see what's going on with the politicians. We want them to hear what they have to say, and we want them to realise that single issues come into all aspects of policy.
OK, thank you very much indeed, Alex, and best of luck with your future